You know that one person who used to answer every message, remember everyone's birthday, stay up until 2 in the morning talking about life, and somehow always be available when someone needed advice? Then one day, they disappear. They stop posting. They leave messages unanswered. They quietly exit the group chat, and suddenly, the person who once seemed deeply connected to everyone is living like they changed their name, moved into a cabin, and forgot Wi Fi was invented. From the outside, it can look cold, arrogant, maybe even dramatic, but inside, something very different may be happening. If you are someone who has quietly disappeared from people you once cared about, welcome. You are about to feel very seen. Walking away does not automatically mean you stopped caring. It does not mean you think you are better than everyone. And it definitely does not mean intelligent people are secretly planning to abandon society and live alone with 12 books and one suspiciously judgmental houseplant. Sometimes disappearing is not rejection. It is exhaustion finally becoming visible. Today, we are breaking down the psychology of why some intelligent, highly reflective people suddenly disappear from everyone's life, even when those relationships once meant a great deal to them. For some people, relationships exist mainly in the present. They enjoy the conversation, answer the message, laugh at the joke, and move on. But for highly reflective people, interactions often continue long after everyone has gone home. They replay the tone, they notice what was not said, they think about why someone reacted strangely, they wonder whether the relationship is genuine, balanced, safe, or slowly becoming another responsibility they never agreed to carry. A 5-minute conversation can become a 40-minute internal investigation. Not because they are trying to overcomplicate everything, their brain simply keeps processing after the social moment ends. Psychologists sometimes describe part of this as a high need for cognition. Stripped of all the academic language, it means some people naturally think deeply about almost everything. Ideas, patterns, contradictions, people, including the contradiction between someone saying, "I'm always here for you," and somehow never being available when support has to travel in the opposite direction. Their mind is like a room full of open tabs. One tab is thinking about work. One is questioning the meaning of life. One is replaying a strange comment from 3 days ago. And another is wondering why they are always the person everyone calls during a crisis, but somehow nobody checks on when they go quiet. Eventually, the system overheats, and when it does, they may not announce that they need space. They simply close everything. But there is more going on than mental overload. Intelligent people are often very sensitive to patterns. They notice when apologies never lead to change behavior. They notice when every conversation somehow returns to the same person. They notice when affection appears only when they are useful. Other people may experience these moments as isolated events, a forgotten message, a canceled plan, a slightly selfish comment. But a pattern-oriented mind connects the dots. And once a picture becomes clear, it can become difficult to unsee. That is why their disappearance can feel sudden to everyone else. But to them, it was rarely sudden. It was 50 small disappointments, 20 conversations where they did not feel heard, 10 moments where they wanted to say something but decided it would create more work than silence. The final event may look tiny. Someone makes another dismissive joke, breaks another promise, calls only because they need something, and the intelligent person quietly decides, "I have enough information now." Not anger, not revenge, just a conclusion. But here is where it gets personal. Many people who disappear learned early that explaining themselves did not always help. Maybe they grew up in homes where expressing hurt turned into an argument, where asking for space was called disrespect, where being sensitive meant being difficult, or where they had to stay calm, observant, and emotionally self-contained because the adults around them were unpredictable. Their nervous system learned something simple. If communication creates more chaos, withdrawal creates safety. So later in life, when a friendship becomes draining or a relationship starts feeling emotionally confusing, they do not always confront it. They reduce access, they answer less, they become busy, and they slowly remove themselves until the relationship exists mainly as a name they occasionally scroll past. Sometimes it was a painful pathway, but sometimes it was not. Some people simply became comfortable with solitude. They learned how peaceful life could feel without constant notifications, forced conversations, unnecessary conflict, and the weekly performance of pretending they are excited to attend something they have been mentally trying to escape since Tuesday. Both pathways can lead to the same place, a person who does not fear being alone. And that matters because many people stay in relationships partly because loneliness scares them. But someone who genuinely enjoys their own company has less motivation to tolerate connections that repeatedly disturb their peace. A quiet room does not feel empty to them. It feels spacious. A weekend without plans does not feel like rejection. It feels like getting their mind back. The familiar chair, the cup of coffee that stays warm because nobody is asking them to solve a problem. The phone placed face down. The strange relief of realizing nobody needs anything from them for the next 3 hours. For some people, solitude is a cage. For others, it is a charging station. But wait, there's another layer. Highly intelligent people may also become tired of social masking. Social masking is the effort of adjusting yourself to fit the room, laughing when something is not funny, pretending to be interested in conversations that feel empty, making yourself smaller so other people do not feel uncomfortable, acting less intense, less curious, less emotional, or less honest, because you have learned that showing your full personality can make people pull away. A mask can help someone belong, but wearing it for too long becomes exhausting. Imagine spending years translating yourself into a version that other people find easier to digest. Eventually, disappearing may feel easier than continuing the translation, not because they hate people, because they are tired of being present without actually feeling known. And let's be honest about something else. Disappearing is not always wisdom. Sometimes it is a defense mechanism. There is a difference between setting a boundary and refusing to have a difficult conversation. There is a difference between protecting your peace and silently punishing someone who does not understand what went wrong. Some intelligent people become so good at analyzing others that they forget other people cannot read conclusions that were never spoken aloud. They may spend months observing a problem internally, then leave after making a decision nobody else knew was being considered. To them, the evidence feels obvious. To the other person, the door simply closes. Intelligence can help someone recognize unhealthy patterns, but it can also help them build extremely convincing reasons to avoid vulnerability. They can explain why the relationship will never work, predict every possible response, rehearse the entire argument, and reject the conversation before it has even happened. That is not always clarity. Sometimes it is fear wearing a very intelligent disguise. So the real question is not simply, why did you disappear? It is, what were you trying to protect? Your energy, your dignity, your concentration on your emotional safety, or the part of you that is terrified someone might hear the truth and still choose not to understand? Because one is a boundary, the other may be a wound. And sometimes it is both. You might be sitting here realizing you have disappeared from several people and never fully explained why. Or you might be thinking about someone intelligent, quiet, and thoughtful who vanished from your life, leaving you with nothing but an unread message and approximately 6 years of confusion. And if it is the second one, I want to say something directly to you. Their disappearance does not necessarily mean you meant nothing to them. Sometimes people withdraw precisely because they cared for too long, thought about it too deeply, and reached a point where staying connected required more emotional energy than they had left. That does not automatically make the disappearance fair, but it may make it understandable. And if you are the person who disappears, your need for distance is not a character flaw. You are allowed to outgrow relationships. You are allowed to stop giving unlimited access to people who repeatedly leave you depleted. You are allowed to choose a quieter life, but you're also allowed to speak before you vanish. To say, this relationship is hurting me. To say, I need space. To give someone the opportunity to understand, even if they do not respond perfectly. Because disappearing may protect you from one painful conversation, but honest boundaries can protect you from repeating the same ending with everyone. So if you are someone who suddenly disappears from people's lives, you are not necessarily heartless. You are not arrogant. And you are not broken. You may simply be someone who notices patterns early, processes them deeply, and eventually stops investing where you no longer feel emotionally safe. Just remember, peace does not always require becoming invisible. Sometimes the most intelligent thing you can do is leave, and sometimes it is finally saying why. So tell me, have you ever quietly disappeared from someone's life, or has someone disappeared from yours? Share your experience in the comments and subscribe to Mindline Lab for more psychology behind the behaviors people rarely know how to explain.